Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people. It's not my usual welcome apart from Red Fellas, but I feel this is an important show, just like the Red Fellas is an important show. This is, of course, it was supposed to be a pre-match carnage for Man City, Liverpool, Man City, I should say. Probably the biggest game of the calendar year so far, the season so far. Then we had some more breaking news just when we thought there's enough tension in the air, enough nervousness in the air to look forward to, this club of ours, this club of ours gives us something else to sink our teeth into. And of course, when these kind of topics come up, I need people to talk to. I mean, I can speak to myself and just stand here, sit here and speak to myself, but I'll look like a madman. I need some people to talk to. And I have some of the finest. Of course, you know Cav from Red Fellas, and of course, other shows on my channel. Cav, how are we?
I'm all right. I'm all right. There is never a dull day as a Liverpool fan. This, I tell you what, you might not have much going on in your own personal life, but if you follow Liverpool, that's enough entertainment to fulfill you, man. But yeah, no, I'm good. End of a long working week. Just winding down for the weekend a little bit, trying to keep my emotions in check for Sunday. And then this news breaks, which is exciting. And we're going to get into a lot of reasons as to why. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to the here and now. I'm looking forward to the future. And this is where we find ourselves as Liverpool fans. So
You're absolutely spot on about if nothing else is going on in your life, support Liverpool. If you just support Liverpool, everything will happen. You will go through the emotions, the passions, the highs, the lows. This is what this club does to you, man. It's an amazing feeling. And obviously, some of the topics that you've said we're going to get into. People are obviously flooding the chat already with questions and hellos and buzzing. And listen, all I ask for is a quick little tap of the like button as an appreciation, and that's all. We don't even usually do shows on a Friday, but it was a must. Today was a must. We had to do a show, because of the magnitude of the game, and also the magnitude of the news, and of course anything to do with Liverpool. I had to get and request, and I thank Moby so much for a last minute invite, and he's been as humble as ever to come on for a little while. Moby, thank you and welcome back to the channel.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning, like you said, some people.
Wherever the case is, yeah.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, and everybody, hit that like button, subscribe. Great shows from these folks over here. So thank you, Grizz.
Moby, I'm gonna start with you because I know your time is limited, and as I said, I appreciate your time. Moby, describe the moment when you or we hear that Edwards is in negotiations, because it was vital, absolutely vital, that the ownership, after the news, of course, of Klopp, get the next, not one appointment, Moby, the next few appointments spot on. Because we already know that we already know the coach is going, the backroom staff are going, and we also know there's a sporting director's role to be filled. How was your opinions of the Edwards chatter when you first heard about Edwards being linked back with the chat? So I'm assuming, and I don't know because we haven't spoken about this, but I'm assuming you was a huge fan of Michael Edwards.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's hard not to be a fan of someone who is so methodical with his process, who started in the back room, who is a big believer in data. Who has really good, for somebody who's not really a football professional before this role, he has just been an incredible part of our club in the last little while. I was extremely happy. I'm extremely happy to hear this news break. I really hope we get to the finish line, which looks a good possibility. But I'm also fully aware that this would have happened if the Jurgen Klopp era was ending. Unfortunately, I think these guys had worked together, and I think at some point the lines blurred, and it wasn't possible to work together. So it's a bit of sadness that we have to see one chapter close out. But for every Liverpool fan out there, if you're worried about the post-Klopp years, this appointment, if should it all work out, couldn't be any better. This is so vital for us to have some stability from someone who knows the club inside out. So over the moon, but of course with a bit of a heavy heart.
You've actually nailed it. It's a bittersweet, isn't it? That's the best way of
Mhm.
describing it. It's a bittersweet feeling, Cav, because of course the bitterness comes from the Klopp leaving. But as Moby says, it was vital FSG get it right, and we needed someone in charge. And we'll get into sort of the kind of role that we're hearing that he's probably being offered, and what's swayed him, hopefully, is the bitter side of it is Klopp's leaving. But we needed someone who knows where the photocopier is, where the men's toilet is, where the emergency room is. He knows everything about Liverpool Football Club already. He's, you was telling me beforehand, he was doing a bit of last second homework as we do. He joined in 2010, right?
10, 11. Yeah, 11, I think, from Tottenham. Yeah.
So he knows the club literally, as they say, the back of his hand.
Yeah. Look, I'm a firm believer that success on the pitch can only be achieved by success off of it. And especially with a model that FSG implement in our club, where it's sustainable, slightly risk adverse, and they get the right bodies in. And these bodies are people that understand football, but understand business as well. And they're very balanced people, and they have key abilities, but they're quite rounded individuals. And we've, as Liverpool fans, have been blessed with, the squad and the hierarchy and the structure and the stability for a number of years now. And I really believe that's what's enabled us to build this squad and challenge for the trophies that we have. When Klopp announced that he was stepping down, retiring, call it what you will, I think a lot of fans were concerned because, well, to add to that, all his backroom staff are going as well, plus George leaving. And a lot of Liverpool fans were concerned about the future because that stability has now been taken away. Now it's entering into a new future, which some people may be excited about, but everything that's been achieved over the past few years that's been positive from Liverpool has been based on that hierarchy, based on those people. So it's like, what next? And a lot of people were concerned that actually it can't be as good as it currently is. Some people might think it could be better, but I think we'd all accept that it doesn't feel like there's a whole host of people out there of the ability of somebody like a Michael Edwards as a sporting director or what have you he is, as a coach like Jurgen Klopp, and it goes on. So a lot of people were worried about the future. So when you hear that Michael Edwards is back interested, when the conversations are positive, you suddenly get a guy that not only fits the mold in terms of what FSG will ask of him, but also he knows the club, having been here, obviously, had success at the club. And that's a brilliant, brilliant partnership to have and a brilliant relationship to try and bring back into the fold. And just as an added thing, when you take so much of the structure away between FSG and the playing squad, the players themselves, which are ultimately the most important people in the club because they're the ones that produce it out on the pitch, they'll be thinking, what next? They don't like this change. And also, they've got new faces coming in. Whereas if you've got a familiar face that you're confident in, that's going to be making key decisions in the club, and Edwards, I think it's also a key thing to keep players happy as well. So there's a lot of things that have gone on with Edwards. There's a lot of things that's gone on with Liverpool, but it feels like a match made in heaven at this point in time, to be honest with you. And we'll discuss the reasons why.
Mobes, basically, when FSG came in, Mobes, they didn't know nothing about the game, and they openly admitted it. And they made a few errors. We tried so many different avenues. Well, not so many, but we tried a different couple of approaches, with certain other sporting directors. Didn't work out. And even though he was brought in, I believe and you will know probably more than me because I believe he came in as head of performance and analysis first. As an analyst, he wasn't he was brought in a simpler role than obviously he went on to be given. There has to be a lot of credit given to FSG. Now we know the failings of FSG, but sometimes it's always good to talk about the great things they've done. And are you with me in agreeing that giving him the keys to the kingdom the first time round, so to speak, was one of the best things they could have done? Because they admitted openly they didn't know the game, But to employ someone who understood the game inside out was vital, wasn't it, Mobs?
Yeah, 100%. I think you nailed it. FSG gets rightfully perhaps a lot of flack, but I think people don't stop and give them credit when it's due. And I think these times, uh, you know, from getting someone like Klopp in there, convincing he was the right person, um, even before then, like you said, giving Edwards the keys to go and build a team around this idea of analytics and data, which is just brand new to the whole sport. I think Ian Graham was one of the first to do it. And then, Edwards going out and getting some scouts. We have scouts we signed from Man City. We have people we got from Spurs. I mean, just the ability that FSG trusted him to go and build a team, and he delivered. So I think, kudos to FSG for having that faith. Kudos to, Edwards from delivering. I think, man, it's extremely exciting to see what the future with Spearman and Edwards and let's see what the sporting director, if it is who we think it is gonna look like, because it's sounding really good on paper, and I don't want to get carried away just yet.
No, absolutely. You're spot on, not to get carried away, but you're right. We needed some sort of positivity and excitement, especially after the Klopp news, and the name on everyone's lips, obviously straight away, was Edwards, and it was sort of first mooted that he wouldn't be interested because he's obviously started his own company, again around the world of data and analytics. He's also partnered up with Ian Graham, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
He's partnered up with Ian Graham. And so it was always going to be difficult to prize him back, I guess. And we had to, by the reports of the David Ornstein piece, which is quite an extensive piece. And people, by the way, pretty much the reason why we've done this show today is because, let's get it out there. There's always rumors, there's always certain people claiming this and claiming that. But we all agree when Joyce and Ornstein do a couple of pieces on consecutive nights almost, then there's absolute firm foundation behind this piece. And Mobes, one of the things that sort of both Joyce and Ornstein have alluded to is the kind of power and role Edwards has asked for, I believe, and B, will be given. What's your thoughts on that in terms of the whole power thing? Because, and I want you to give some insight, if you have and if you may, on the role of Michael Edwards, which is being mooted and suggested now. So it's not just a director of football, it's a CEO role. Almost, dare I say it, the Mike Gordon role?
Yeah, it's a really, really, really good question. I do want to start by saying Michael Edwards, a lot of people don't know, actually has a restaurant chain in Manchester. So, Grizz, we might have to go and have some meals there sometime. But
when I'm off my diet,
that's a different topic.
Yeah.
But I think that's the big part, and you nailed it. I think the caveat is that Michael Edwards is not coming back as just a sporting director. He's coming back as a sporting CEO, if you like, but it's part of FSG's football operations. So, it tells me a few things. One, when I saw Billy Hogan was given a CEO of FSG role, an expanded portfolio role with the multi-club ownership, you could deduce that's kind of the angle that, Michael Edwards is going to come back. And I think for me, I have always thought to myself, he left because of a rift with FSG and the Klopp era, as we all know about, a little bit about that. I always thought if he's going to come back, he definitely would want some assurance saying, I got to have the power to make decisions, that I don't want you guys to interfere and push me out again. And it has to be a guarantee. So I think the role, like you alluded, Grizz, I think is going to be exactly that. It's going to be a very, very powerful role. I know that FSG in the past had looked at some clubs in the Iberian Peninsula to be part of the multi-club ownership. It didn't work out so far. But with someone like Edwards over there, I mean, you would have to, think and maybe deduce a little bit where this conversation may go with that.
Yeah, Cav, obviously everyone is going to want to know what was the magic words. Obviously, we'll never know what the magic words were or the magic numbers were, so to speak, on the page, on the offering of the paycheck. But it's more than money. This surely is more than money. Edwards has, we know he's very, very successful. His ambitions were to be sort of the super agent of the highest ilk. But to me, it suggests we still have that pull. Liverpool Football Club has still that pull, because Edwards to come back to something that he to be honest, the report suggests saw himself above, like he saw himself above being a football director, and as Moby's alluded to, one of the reasons that was mooted in terms of him leaving was this power struggle between him and, let's just say, the coach, right, and certain other individuals. But it's quite a move from FSG to say, listen, your terms, basically, because it suggests, and Paul Joyce and David Ornstein allude to it before people start saying Grizz is making up rumors. Joyce and Ornstein, go and read their pieces. I can't share the whole piece here. It'd be boring. Read it on your own time. They've suggested that literally FSG have kind of said, not name your price, name your terms. That's huge. And that's quite humbling of FSG, because we see FSG as this, owners that just do what they want, when they want, how they want, but they're smart business people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're never going to, put their own business at risk, because, as much as we like to think that they want to see Liverpool lift trophies or what have you, this is a business to them, and they're never, going to risk that the value of the business reducing or, going to ruins, if you like, to be extreme. So they're going to have to, because of Klopp leaving and because of George leaving or whatever, recruit somebody or a number of people. And to get the best, you kind of sometimes have to, show your hand a little bit, or, let up a bit more than you were willing to give in the first place. I'd like to think FSG weren't in a desperate situation, and that there was other sort of options out there, other people out there, other models, if you like. But certainly Michael Edwards is a man of good reputation. He's a man that will demand a certain amount, because he set up his own ventures, and like you say, he had his own aspirations or whatever. So for FSG, and I mean, it's yet to be confirmed, but if it is confirmed, and that deal's done, it's exciting for us Liverpool fans, because it shows us that they must have presented a good offer to him. And that offer won't just be for him, it will be for us as a club, as in, okay, we're going to give you loads of control, but if what he's controlling isn't going to be successful, then he still wouldn't take it, So clearly a model has been presented to him. Clearly a future for this club has been presented to him. And he's looked at it and gone, I can really I can really control this, aid it, and make it successful. And success for him means success for us as Liverpool fans, ultimately. So it's really exciting to see that a proposal has been put forward that works for him, because ultimately that will work for us as Liverpool fans. And look, at the end of the day, FSG, they're not football men, they're businessmen, and they're going to need football people in it. And for out of what we know, and we only know so much, he looks like one of the best. So his record speaks for itself when we look at some of the acquisitions, which I'm sure we can talk about during his time at Liverpool, and the sales he's done. He looks like a top bloke. And like I said earlier, to get a shrewd businessman as well as a guy who understands football is very unique in this day and age. You've only got to look at the other top clubs around, and they might have brilliant businessmen, but they fail on the football side of things, or vice versa. So to strike that balance is really a unique thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're spot on. Like what you said earlier on about in terms of getting the success right, it's a mixture of things. You can maybe have the best coach, but the structure around him enables him not to be able to perform at his highest. Or you can have a brilliant structure, but not the right manager. Or you can have the structure and the manager, but the backroom staff's lacking. I've always said it's a team effort, and we are our best when we won the league and Champions League. The structure, the backroom staff, and the coach were all in sync, and it resulted on the pitch. Mobs, I'm going to rack your brain in terms of memory, and I want to ask you some of your most memorable moments with Edwards in terms of purchases and sales. Now, obviously, there's some that obviously come to mind, and feel free to expand on them. But give us some of your best, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like best sales and losses, like best purchases and sales of this great man.
Yeah, there's just so many, isn't there? I think one of the best aspects of Edwards is that because of how private he is, we found out many
Yeah,
years ago that he used to actually scout players in person because nobody really knew what he looked like. Nobody really had much
brilliant point.
information.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I remember when I was reading the couple of years back the in-depth articles about how Mohamed Salah was, first heavily scouted by our team. It was Edwards a lot of the time who was watching him play live, and to have someone like that involved and that meticulous, I guess, it's quite something. And I think I'm really excited to see where that takes us again. But I think a lot of people will have their favorites, but my favorite signing under Edwards was getting Robertson for 8 million or so, and shipping Kevin. God, what's his name?
Kevin Stewart.
Kevin Stewart for 8 million the other way.
Wow,
I mean,
wow, wow, wow.
we literally broke even on that one, and I think it goes really under the radar a lot. But yeah, there's just so many, and I think Cav might have a whole list of them ready to go, so I won't take the thunder away from him. But that is my favorite. I just felt like we got a robo for really free, if you want to call it that.
I mean, that's absolutely spot on. People, do you know what it is, Mobes? That's a great point because everyone remembers the Robertson fee. Okay, that's fine. Like that's amazing in itself. 8 million,
Yeah,
right, from home.
yeah,
But
yeah.
people forget we offset that with the sale of Kevin Stewart, which is
It's
unbelievable.
crazy.
I mean, Cav, what comes to your mind? I mean, I know you've done again some research and homework, uh,
Yeah.
but rally of some brilliant things that
Yeah.
most of us might have forgotten. I haven't. We haven't, but some may have forgotten about the genius of this guy.
Yeah, okay. So I'll give you some of the headline deals that seem to be the obvious ones. But chat, if you've got any more, throw them in here because this guy's
Yeah,
done
give
great
us your
work.
favorite in the chat. By the way, there's
Yeah.
300 of you guys on a impromptu show that I just arranged an hour ago on a Friday night. That's amazing turnout, and thank you for the love. But not even 100 likes yet. Normally our ratios are much better than this. So come on, we've even got Moby in the house for you guys. I know you're bored of seeing me and Cav's face, but come on, a special like for Moby at least. Sorry, Cav.
Yeah. So I suppose perhaps the biggest one is Mohamed Salah. And big in the sense that, as it's kind of been said a lot of times, he wasn't Jurgen Klopp's first choice. And Michael Edwards really pushed for that deal and managed to get it across the line, showing great strength, which is really important as a negotiator like him in that role. So Mo Salah is obviously the biggest one, gone on to become a Liverpool legend, of course. You got the likes of Alisson, Virgil van Dijk, Sadio Mane, as I just said, Andy Robertson, Fabinho, Khanage.
Ooh.
We're literally reeling off, the best players, some of the best players in Liverpool history, and certainly the best players in, recent times. Sales wise, the biggest deal probably in football history, probably in the top 5 deals was when Coutinho made his move to Barcelona with his troubling lower back injury for 142 million, around that kind of fee. Incredible deal. And then obviously further deals of, Sakho to Palace for 26 million, Solanke to
Wow.
Bournemouth,
Forgot
19,
that
20
one.
million.
Forgot the Sacco one.
Yeah. Danny Ward to Leicester, 12.5 million. Danny Ings to Southampton, 20 million. These are good fees for not so good players. Okay, some of them are all right and had decent careers, but both ways. Incredible negotiator, shrewd man in the boardroom, trying to get these deals across the line for good fees, and both acquisitions and sales. He looks like he excels in. So there's more. Chat coming up. Yeah, Brewster, Nico. Obviously, doing all right for us now.
Well, our brother Tamizi, who's a very regular in the chat, says, I know he's injured, but Matip is a shout and free transfer.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a great shout as well. I know Moby's got to leave, and we will carry on, continue, guys. I've got Steve trying to connect as well, hopefully in the next 5-10 minutes as well. Mobs, very quickly, your opinion on the incoming director of football, as we are hearing from, again, the likes of Ornstein and Joyce, who suggest that it's Richard Hughes, formerly of Bournemouth. Some opinion and insight, if you may, sir.
Yeah, another very unassuming character, just like Edwards, right? A lot of people don't know who he is, and I think for a club like ours, sometimes it's just the best way to go. You don't want big egos, you don't want big names, you don't want none of that. It's just the work we do is best behind the scenes and under the cover of darkness, if you want to call it that. Not so dark these days with social media and everything, but you get the idea. Um, re- uh, uh, Really, I think it'll be a really solid, appointment. From what I understand, I think he speaks a few languages to boot, so really helps us in the work to do signing players from different parts of the world. Everybody knows I'm a big fan of South American football. Unfortunately, I think we have neglected that market a little bit from the talent wise, from the youth range. Hoping that someone like that coming in really helps us in that field. But a club like Bournemouth had to always work on buying players early where possible, and nurturing them and selling them off. That's just the model that they'll have. So having that insight probably really helps us in getting the younger players. Bournemouth's owner actually Foley also has a stake in Lorient in League One. So I suspect again all the arrows point towards some sort of multi-club ownership, perhaps under FSG in the future, especially giving Michael Edwards a key to the sporting operation within FSG. For football-wise, you wonder, well, they don't have any other footballing clubs, so why that role? Do you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think I think the I think we can kind of see where the strategy is going somewhat. But
And
if
very
that's the
last,
case, no,
sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say, and very last question, because I'm actually milking you and rinsing you as much as I can. Very last question, and I promise. So another, how shall I put it? A domino effect of this. Hopefully, these two appointments, which is the Edwards and the Hughes. Am I right in reading somewhere and someone telling me that Hughes also shares the same agent as Xabi Alonso?
To be honest with you, and I'll be completely clear, I haven't really looked that deep into this thing. And if that is the case, and I hope that it is, I mean, you might have just hit on something right there. If that is
So
the case, I mean, it's hey, getting your ducks in a row, as they say. This is
that's the
incredible.
statement. That's the way of describing it. If that's
That's
the case, then we're
incredible.
definitely getting our ducks in a row, because
Incredible.
I'm pretty certain I read that they've got the same agent, but we will wait for confirmation, obviously. And if that's the case, but just very quickly, as I said, who's the third member of this appointments team? Who do you want? Who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah.
Give us your thoughts before we let you go.
Yeah, I think I'm like a majority of the fans. I think it's gonna be a hard fall from going from club to a manager that has no. I think we're emotionally spoiled, right? We have a coach
Yeah,
that's emotional, right? That's like
definitely.
emotional. We're emotionally connected to the club, to the players, to the coaching. To go from that to a coach that doesn't connect emotionally for various reasons. Once we cannot clone Klopp. He's a very special character, but I think what is soften the blow would be someone who is part of the club, who has been part of the club, who gets it, who feels it, who will be there through the hard times. I remember reading an article with Rafa Benitez when they asked him, "Why do you want to sign Javi Alonso?" And he said, "He's from the Basque region. It rains there all the time. He's not gonna want to leave Liverpool for Andalusian summers if they come calling." And I thought that was really interesting because it shows that perhaps these guys have a little bit more attachment beyond nice weather and shiny things. Do you know what I mean? So for that reason alone, I think Javi Alonso definitely is. I think my choice, and I think most of our choice, if I'm guessing right. But listen, nothing in life is guaranteed. There was a lot of talk about him, joining some other club in Bundesliga a few years back, and he decided to turn back and sign with Real Sociedad again. So until it happens, we don't know. But if not him, I'm a big fan of Amorim. He speaks English fluently. A brilliant mind. He's worked with the academy. It's just something special there. But personally, he has never coached outside of Portugal, so I would be a little hesitant. So I think it's Xavi or bust. We gotta go all in. We gotta go all in. Give him the keys to whatever he needs to. But
how many keys are we going to give to the? How many kingdoms do we have? We've given the keys to the kingdom to Edwards, and now we want to give it to Xavi Alonso.
Oh boy!
But guys, I could talk, and I'm sure many of you can tell. I could talk to Moby about football all day long, but he must go. Really appreciate the time and effort. If you're not following Moby on Twitter, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Go check him out. Great insights, especially into the younger talents all around the world, especially in South America, but generally as well. Moby, there's absolutely no doubt that I will pester you again to come on again, and hopefully we can speak soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, boys. I mean, I really appreciate it, Grizz. Really nice meeting you, Cav. And you know what? Everybody in the chat, big love, big love. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All the best, Mobs. Take care.
Bye.
Do you know just one thing, Grizz? I'd just like to say that
I've just got Steve as always in the building as well. Steve is having camera issues, but the face, we can never forget his face, and he's reminded us by putting an absolute handsome picture. I'm sure it's enhanced in every single way to make him look better than he is. But Steve, you're right, lad.
Yeah. I've got Jimmy at Redmond to thank for that, mate. Yeah, that's been. I don't look like that, so
I do need to ask Jimmy from the Redmen or via you can you give me a picture like that, mate, please? It might do the world of difference for me.
I'm sure he can. Yeah, I'm just not. It's not seeing my camera at the moment, so that's good news for everyone who's tuned in. Don't have to look at me, but you still have to listen to me. So there you go. Photoshop, Steve. That's it. Yeah. That's the world I live in. That's the world I live in, guys. Thanks for pointing that out.
Cav, sorry, you were saying I just got so excited by Steve's picture. Sorry, I lost all track. You were saying something.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to pick up the point on what Moby said, and that's there's brilliant businessmen out there, and there's ex-footballers and people that understand football brilliantly that could come in and do a role. But there's very few people that understand what this football club really means.
Yeah.
And I think in Michael Edwards, you've really got somebody like that because of his time that he spent here, and a significant amount of time as well. And he'd have seen through the success. I'm not sure how many times you've seen this short video, but where he's swinging the top off the top of the bus during the parade and stuff. He's lived it. Do you know what I mean? He's been part of building this team during some very tough times as well. We weren't as successful as we are now. He's worked towards building that. So it's exciting to see that actually if he can take us to another level or work within the finances he's got now, which are better than before, that's exciting. But actually he's been part of building that success. He's seen firsthand where the successes have been and perhaps where some of the failures have been as well. And he's got his own firsthand experience, case study to what's going to make this club great. And that is so invaluable. That's so valuable. You know, that personal, that first-hand experience and coming into the club and understanding what it really means. You know, ultimately we want to win, but how we win and how we approach things. And look, he's not just coming here to be a sporting director. He's going to oversee a lot of footballing aspects of this club, and how we portray ourselves, how we relay ourselves to the fan, how we carry ourselves. There's a real heart at Liverpool, and to have somebody coming in making key decisions that understands that is vitally important as well, because that will only aid our success. So I think it was a really key point that Moby said, is that person that understands this football club, because we are different to everybody else, make no bones about it. And I'm not going to bang on about whether it means more or not, because there's been enough spats earlier in the week from Trent and Jurgen Klopp going on about things to that extent.
Yeah. Steve, obviously want to get your opinion on the breaking news, I guess, of the last 48 hours. Well, breaking, you know, just telling the viewers and subscribers and listeners that basically when Joyce and Ornstein do consecutive pieces, each guy, you pretty know it's nailed on. Steve, your initial reaction to the news?
It's what we all wanted to hear, isn't it? And, you know, when Michael Edwards walked away the first time, and made it clear to other football clubs that he had no intention of working in football again, because that was never his plan to stay at the club as long as he did. If what we're hearing is true and we get him back in, it's a real coup for the football club. We're going to have to give him the keys because he wants quite a lot of autonomy to do and make decisions. And I think, based on what we've seen before,
He deserves it.
he's earned that. He's earned that. Absolutely. Yeah. Get some bodies in around him. People that, Richard Hughes, the guy that's been also named from Bournemouth. People that he trusts, because that's key when you're doing something like this, to have people around you that you trust. I'm all for it. I think it's absolutely amazing. I think it strengthens the football club. There have been questions about recruitment. There have been questions about the processes that we go through. There's even been questions about the medical team of late. So I think, bring a guy in like that who fully understands it and give him carte blanche to do what he needs to do to put the football club right back where it was when he had it last time. Show me someone who doesn't welcome this. Show me someone who doesn't think this is a good idea. It's immense for the football club. It's huge. It changes the dynamics of everything we do. And if we don't go the full distance this season because of injuries and things like that, having an infrastructure with someone like Michael Edwards at the helm of it, then we'll challenge every year going forward, because the structure of the football club will support the incoming manager and what we want to do, whether it's Alonso, whether it's Amorim. Personally speaking, it's Alonso for me. That would be my choice. I'm sure we'll get into that in the conversation. But in terms of Michael Hughes coming back, if it happens, it's got to be amongst the top appointments the football club's ever made, because of the impact he made the first time round, and give him more responsibility, more coverage over the football club. It's the only way we're going to get him back. There's even talk about a shareholder stake in FSG as part of the deal to get him back in. They're pushing the boat out to get him. They're not really people that do that. They're quite reserved in the way they go about things, but clearly that they've identified that this absolutely is your guy. This is the man that starts the whole thing again with his stewardship over the top of it. And we go on to much bigger and better things, and I'm all for it. And I can't wait for the news, assuming it comes, that he's been appointed. Big day for the football club.
Cav, it's, you know what it is? It's one of those ones where you feel comfortable when you've been looked after by someone and you enjoyed your time. So as a player, as a club, as owners, we know Edwards has been there. Like we said, he knows everything. He's overseen the most successful period that in my lifetime anyway. Do you know what I mean? In terms of trophy after trophy after trophy. And I know it's been a point of conversation, but the right way. We've done it within our means, we haven't got any allegations against our names. We haven't got 115 accusations or, whatever against our name. We've done it the right way, right? Yeah. So far. And long may it continue. And so, but I'm also intrigued. When you go away, Cav, not you personally, whenever someone... So whenever a teacher or in any field goes away and has a bit of time off, you'd like to think the nerds that they are, the specialists that they are, the amazing experts that they are, they're always looking for new, innovative ways to get even better in whatever profession they're professing. Yeah. I'm excited to what he's going to bring again to the time, because he was one of the innovators, right? Along with Ian Graham and everything. And we've mentioned the other people. Spearman's already at the club, we know that. I'm excited, like Steve says, to see what he's going to bring this time as well.
Yeah, and look, imitators are never better than the creators, and I wouldn't say that Mark Levers is a creator. Sports analytics has been around. Signings based on statistics has been around. You only have to look at the money ball in baseball and things like that. So the idea was there, but you would say he took that idea and really excelled with it at Liverpool, and we became the blueprint for a lot of other clubs, and a lot of other clubs tried to follow in what we were doing. And it's nice to have somebody that seen an idea, ran with it, not solely, obviously, I'm not going to say it was solely based on statistics and analytics or whatever. He had a bit more about it than that. But to take an idea, look at the club, look at the hierarchy, look at the future, evaluate the future of football, the changes that are going to come about with football. Fitness plays a part in that because the amount of football that players are being asked to play now, the change in the Champions League format will change that again. If you go to a two-year World Cup, that will change again. Into Nations League and extra international competition. So football is constantly evolving. More and more demands are being put on players, and you as a club have got to react to it. So to have people in place that look ahead and try to predict what the future is going to bring or react quickest to how football changes is ultimately what makes you a top club, because if you're standing, there's no such thing as standing still. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards in a lot of cases. So to have a man in that's shown that he is a modern day football man, understands it and look towards the future and implements systems and ways of working and has the right people and works with the right people around him to ultimately achieve in the future. It's exciting to see again because, like I just mentioned, the expanding Champions League format and all of these extra competitions. We've now got 5 subs. That was new. There's so much heavy analysis and opinions on sports science and fitness and things as well now. So there's going to be that continuing. And to have a man that just understands it and looks like he can evolve with the times is really exciting for us, really moving forward. And it just looks like we've got it right again, And the only one thing in the back of my mind, I was playing devil's advocate with this, is that I don't like the idea of one man having so much power.
Okay.
But if anyone's going to have it, and where we kind of find ourselves, we're kind of accepting that, look, either a group of people come in and then that might not work, or you get somebody in. And if it's a single individual that's going to oversee so much, you'd rather go with someone and is tried and tested and, it has all the abilities we've spoken about for the past 40 minutes. I just wonder, when we spoke about the signings that he made in particular, they were made during the time in which Klopp was there as well. And although they disagreed at times, there were 2 opinions that were able to come to a mutual decision that seemed to, more often than not, work out for Liverpool. And I just wonder if he's given even more power, are we going to have the people in place to challenge him as well? Are we going to, because we're not in these rooms, and it's very easy for us to go, okay, Klopp didn't want Mo Salah, Edwards did. We got Mo Salah and he went on to be a legend. That must mean Edwards' opinion is great and we should always run with him. No, it worked on that occasion. And more often than not, it did work. But did that work because he was being challenged from elsewhere? Did he want to sign a player or have an idea that someone shot down and actually we never knew about it, but it was good for him? When it comes to the power that he's going to have, I'm just a little bit like, who's going to challenge him? Who's going to work with him? Because ultimately you've got FSG and then you've got him, and he's the footballing guy. So that's the only little bit of nervousness I would say I've got with regards to his appointment.
I think it's valid points, Steve, that Cav makes in terms of, someone challenging your opinions and sort of bouncing off each other type thing. And we obviously know Klopp. From what we know and from what we've read and from what we've seen, the relationship develop, it seemed like they almost bounced off each other's opinions, and sometimes Klopp had his way, sometimes Edward had his way. Obviously, it suggests and it seems that latter in their relationship, in the near the end days, Klopp was having more of a say, let's just say. But this is where the crucial appointment of the next coach. This is where the appointment of the next coach is crucial, right, Steve? Because he's got to have a character and a personality of his own as well.
Oh, totally. Just going back to Cav's point, I think if you're someone like Michael Edwards' stature and you've got the commercial acumen you couldn't go into a football club like Liverpool and will be presided over by the likes of Mike Gordon and people like that in terms of the structure. He's not going to say it's my way or the highway. I'm going to tell you this is what it is. I think he would be foolish to try to do that. There will be people around him. The guy Richard Hughes, as we mentioned before, there will be other people that come into the football club. The new head of analytics, if we get one of those, a new medical team where you're almost going to look at a committee, but it'll be headed up by him, and he learnt from his previous experiences at the football club and the skills that he's got, what works and what doesn't. So I totally agree. Wouldn't give one man all the responsibility, but equally somebody has to head it up. and they have to put around them a team of solid individuals that add value to every conversation around that. Going to the manager perspective, we'll not recruit another manager at the level and experience of Jurgen Klopp when we recruit in the summer. So if you bring in Xabi Alonso, you need a sporting director. Absolutely, he needs to work with the sporting director so he can concentrate on the football. As much as we love Jurgen Klopp, there's enough opinion out there, the people that have been close to the football club. Sometimes that's been a difficult relationship because he's very, very demanding, and successful people generally are. You bring Xabi Alonso or Amorim in, their role changes. They don't get the same capacity to go and scream and shout at people to get to sign players, for the want of a better expression. It's well documented that Diaz, Gakpo and Nunes are largely from the management team of the football club right now, as opposed to analytical people and people who understand recovery runs and all that stuff. It was a fit they felt went with the football club. So if you bring Alonso in, on a different platform, a different level. He's not Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp earned the right at some point and to take that power and say, I want this and I want that. You can't have a guy who's as good as that, not in that position. With Xabi Alonso, the support network around him will help massively. He's got 3 challenges. Number 1, understand the football club. Ticking a box, done and dusted, no issue there. Number 2, understand the fan base and connect with the fan base. No issue there, that's done. And perhaps the most difficult one is to transmit what he does onto the pitch and make Liverpool his team as opposed to Jurgen Klopp's team. And I think he's got that about him. I watch a lot of Leverkusen because I'm not ashamed to say it. Xabi Alonso is one of my all-time favourite Liverpool players.
Absolutely no shame in that at all, mate.
I'm a bit of a fanboy, so go and watch Leverkusen. What Leverkusen do with the football, nobody else in Europe is trying to do at the moment. Their brand of football is completely different. And I've thought about this, and I've spoken about this previously. We have pound for pound better players in our midfield than they do. Granit Xhaka does get nowhere near the Liverpool team. Imagine incorporating that game plan, that strategy, that the way that they play with the ability of the players in your Liverpool midfield. It's a different level. So you bring someone like him in, he does what he needs to do. He's supported by the hierarchy, the infrastructure. Edwards makes some really sensible appointments around him. It's a win-win situation. It's absolutely a win-win situation. And I am so wedded to the idea that Xabi Alonso becomes the next Liverpool manager. If he doesn't become it, I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do. I genuinely don't know what to do with
He's
myself.
all in.
I might deactivate completely. They might never see me on anything like this ever again, because it's. I'm just so invested in the idea, and I watch Leverkusen, as I said before, and they're an absolute delight to watch. And if you can transmit what they do into the Premier League, you're gonna take souls, mate. You're gonna steal people's souls. There will be one hell of a football team. Ooh. And as I am so gutted that Jurgen's leaving, but that's the reality, and I've been able to some degree reconcile that. And you kind of have to look forward. You have to look at what's next. At some point, you've got to get on board with the process. And if it's Xabi Alonso, it's so exciting, boys. And with the people that we're talking about putting above him, then they're all relatively young men. They're not. You know, they're a lot younger than Jurgen Klopp is, for instance.
Yeah,
they're a lot younger than Rafa Benitez was. They've got trees to pull up. They've got careers to build. They've got legacies to build, and they're all hungry and they're all fired up, as are a lot of the new players in the squad. So, yes, I'll be devastated to see Jurgen go. But the names that we're talking about, the 3 big appointments, you put them in our football club. Big shout here. We might go to levels on and off the pitch we've not seen before.
Guys,
That's
if you wasn't excited, if you guys weren't excited about sort of all the chitter chatter, or Steve's come and really stoked up the fire, and you can see the passion and energy in his voice. You can't see on his face, but you can hear it in his voice today. Mark Fogg joins us. He says, I'm a City fan and love Grizz's ball knowledge. Woo! Whoa, never heard that one before. Wit maybe, but ball knowledge. Thank you so much, Mark. Come on, people, show the love, smash them likes. Listen, Mark's here. Obviously, we play, and this is a brilliant segue. Magically always happens on this channel. The segues are amazing. We don't plan them, they just happen naturally. Thank you very much for the kind comments, Mark. Of course, Edwards chat, Hughes chat, new manager chat, Cav, All of that can wait. All of that can wait. But how many nights sleep have we got left before the big one? Two. This is it, Cav. We have to start focusing, arrowing in on this huge, mega, tense fixture. Man City, come to Anfield, Cav. How you feeling, pal?
This is it. And do you know what? I'm an absolute hypocrite because I was talking to my mates last night, right?
Go on.
I was talking to my mates last night and I said, the conversation wasn't even going this way. And I seen something come to it and I was like, I'm tired of talking. No disrespect, Steve. Close your ears right now. I said, I'm tired of hearing about this Alonso stuff, right? Because it's all well and good being excited for the future, anxious about the future, wanting to know what the future holds, right? And the manager is part of that. But here and now is the time. We're thinking about next year's party. We're at a party right now.
We are,
what I mean? This is it. We are in we're in 3 competitions. We've won 1. We've got an amazing squad. Players returning. We're in pole position for the league, and we are playing at home against the next best side. Yeah, I said it in England, right? With an opportunity to put a gap between them and us. And it's now. If you're a football fan and you're a Liverpool fan, these are the times, right? These are what the hard times have been for. It's to reach points and stages like this. And I'm just trying to soak it all in and enjoy it as much as possible. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I think the game is going to be much like what we see with Liverpool and Man City. Both sides will have their moments in the game. There'll be chances. There'll be periods where one side's on top and it'll feel like they're dominating and they're going to be their day, and then it will switch to the other team again. But the fact it's at Anfield, the fact that we are ahead in the league slightly, the fact that it's Jurgen Klopp's final meeting against Pep Guardiola, we think, depending on what happens in the FA Cup, and it's on a Sunday, not quite under the lights. It might get a little bit dark towards the end. It is going to be a game, I think, that is going to go down in history. And for me, when the fixtures come out at the start of the season, I used to look at when we played United. I don't anymore. I used to look at when we play Everton. I don't anymore. I look at when we're going to play Man City. I look at when we're going to play them home and away, and I think, is that game going to come around at a point in time where we're either going to be in the challenging for the league or what have you? Is it going to be whilst they're in the Champions League? Is it all of these kind of things? And it just so happens it comes with 9-10 games remaining. We're top of the league, and if we get a result on Sunday, the chants can start, the atmosphere can ramp up. I'm here for it. I'm here for everything that this season can bring, and it starts on Sunday for me.
I'm just hoping Red Fellas is a show of celebration on Sunday night. I'm already, Steve. Where are we in the grand scheme of things? Let's just put it out there. It's a 6-pointer. I don't think it's a title decider. But what's your opinions and what's your thoughts on the magnitude of this?
Well, it's massive. It's amongst the biggest games in Klopp's tenure at the football club, because it's huge. I think, just to sort of go back to Cav's opening point, I get you, totally get you. I'm compartmentalizing, mate. So I'm putting things in areas where I want to spend my time and my energy on them, and I've got big energy about what the future looks like.
Yep.
And I'm totally invested in where we are this season and how we want to do it and how good it would be to do it. I will say this about Man City. Marcus Rashford played for 10 minutes, scored a wonder goal, and if he doesn't go down trying to get Kyle Walker sent off, they could have been 2 in front because he's not catching him. Liverpool, for me, will create chances against Manchester City. They're not perhaps what they were previously in that regard. And I think our front line, in particular the way Nunes at this moment in time, is occupying everybody's entire back four, which is insane in terms of the work he's doing. I'm still not convinced he's an out-and-out number 9. I never will be. But he's not playing as an out-and-out number 9 at the moment. He's doing quite a lot of his stuff from slightly wider positions. He's confident. His goals in midweek were brilliant. There was a stage we didn't think we'd see goals like that from him. We wondered when it would come. He's not prolific, but he's a nuisance, and he's going to give Manchester City a hard time at the weekend for sure. And it is for me title defining, I have to say, because I don't know what it is. I can't see Arsenal going to the end and getting out of this with being champions. I think the winner comes from Liverpool and Manchester City. I really do. And I think Spurs will have a big case to say who wins the title.
They play all three of us.
They play us all, yeah. And Manchester City do not play particularly well against Spurs. We know this. So I'm looking at it. It's a massive game. You got 4 points ahead of Man City with 10 games to play. Liverpool have lost twice in almost 12 months. And one of those was to the officials, VAR, not to the game. The Arsenal game was a bad day. And Arsenal played very well. To give them their plaudits, they did. They got their tactics right on the day. I don't see Liverpool giving loads of points away between now and the end of the season, because they haven't given loads of points away at all this season. You get this far into a season, you don't suddenly wake up one morning and think, oh, we'll suddenly start doing things we haven't been doing. But winning the Carabao Cup, as sort of small as that might seem in the grand scheme of things, gives this team so much energy, so much more to push on for. We're starting to see bodies coming back. I would expect Szoboszlai to play a big part the weekend because of his recovery runs. We've missed that. Listen, I genuinely think we go into that game with a very, very good chance of winning it. We will have to keep them quiet. We will have to keep them out. There'll be spells in the game, you're both right, when we don't dominate. There'll be spells in the game when we do. The key to it is to be brave. I say this all the time on the pods. And that is to do what teams have got success against City do, which is keep somebody high and wide. So the moment you allow Diaz and the likes of that to join in on the back of their midfield and camp in your half, you're in trouble. You're not going to win that game. When we were all still drunk after the celebrations and they battered us after winning the league, that's exactly what happened. So from a Liverpool perspective, I kind of want to see them go for the jugular. Doesn't make a lot of sense because we've not been doing that. We're a second half team. I don't think you can afford to play as badly as we have in some of the first halves, and then
not against this City.
Right the wrongs at half time and come out all guns firing and recover the ground and make up for the mistakes. I don't want to see Liverpool have what we hold and see how good City are and then react to it. We've got our strengths are notable, and our strengths will create us opportunities against Manchester City. I don't want to be scared of them. That's what worries me, that we go into this game with a sense of trepidation. It's Manchester City. It's season defining. What you don't do is you make yourself difficult to beat, and in the process of doing that, you forget how good you are at the things that you do. And I want to see Liverpool go in there and say, our front line is going to tear you to pieces. Not Núñez. Diaz's movement is elite. It's sensational, particularly Núñez's movement at the moment. Mo's back, and that's absolutely huge. Mo is back, and then you've got McAllister that is just insane how good he is at the moment. So we've got to go into that game, and we've got to do what Jurgen says. We've got to believe. That's where we are.
All I'm going to say is, if Liverpool are 75% in the form Steve's on in tonight, then we're on to a winner, people. Clement's in the building. Big subscriber to the channel, always watches. Clement, thank you very much. He goes, rise up the likes community. Come on, 180 likes is not enough. We're actually 10 away from 200 now. So people are responding to the pleas for likes. 200 likes and we're good to go. Here we go. Keith Cross is in the building as well. God knows where he is, watching somewhere, probably getting ready to watch the boxing somewhere, where there's lots of people and drink. Big up the lads and get those likes up, Keith says. So big up, Keith. Cav, we're going to get into trying to pick a team. We have to. Before we get into trying to pick a team, Yo, what's good? Sends in a super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, continue Klopp's play style, somewhat transition-based. La Deserbi more so in build-up, but yet transition types. Or a completely new style, positional, like Arteta or Zabi. I don't know, to be honest with you. How would you like it, guys, to see the transition, the new manager, to continue this high-intensity gegenpressing approach, or De Zerbi, who's more of a Pep school of thought, meticulous build-up from the back, control possession, control games. And Amrim's more counter-attacking, I'd say. He's a mixture of the two. What would you like, Cav?
Well, look, we know that Klopp's fundamentals are pushing up the pitch, winning the ball back early, counter-pressing and what have you. But I think sometimes it's a little bit overlooked that actually we have a few styles. And at times this season, we have sat back and defended, got men behind the ball. We have switched from 4-3-3 to 4-3-2-1 to up top at times and stuff. So I think there is flexibility in there. And I think ultimately what I'd like to see from the new coach is still that flexibility. Of course, I would like an attacking style of play. I think we have the quality to go and do that, but we also have the quality to control games, especially with the acquisitions in midfield we've made this season. We have the quality to be brave and push up because of the incredible defenders that we have. And look, I personally think that a possession-based game is probably better for the future with the amount of football that's going to be played from these footballers. I think the intensity can sometimes, as we've seen, mean that players fall, the legs sort of fall off towards the end of the season when it really counts. So I'm nervous about that. But then I'm also thinking Pep does it best. And are you really going to achieve what Pep does? Because if you don't, then you're always going to be behind. So I think ultimately I'd like a high intensity attacking based style, but I also need to see some tactical flexibility from the new coach. He's got to have options, and he's got to be able to, as we've seen with Klopp this season, make in-game changes when required as well. Attacking based, but flexible as well.
Attacking based, flexible, and you said options, and obviously, Steve, going into Sunday's game, selection availability is all important, all key to this game, I feel. We've done amazingly. Honestly, there is not enough credit being given to Jurgen Klopp and the squad of players to be where we are with the amount of injuries. And I don't give a shit about other clubs' injuries, and you go and talk about your injuries then. I don't care. All I care about is my team, my squad has been decimated with some of the most important key players being injured for a number of weeks, months. We have done amazingly to get this far, Steve. But now when it comes to the crunch part of the season and City being the most hardest game in the calendar left for us, or for any team in Europe, I feel, we need to have some of the big hitters back. Now, we know Szoboszlai made a return. We know Mohamed Salah made a return. They aren't going to be at optimum levels, which is a slight worry for me. Khanage going off the other day really sickened me, Steve. So Jurgen Klopp says today he's unsure if he's going to be fit or not. Khanage claims he was fine, should be okay, but he's still gone for a scan, which means there is something there. From my experience, I suggest Khanage won't play. What are you doing if Khanage isn't playing? Because I don't know, Paul, the question is, the options are Gomez goes to centre-back and Robbo stays left-back and Bradley obviously plays right-back. Or Gomez goes left-back and he entrusts Kwanzaa because Robert's been not at his best since his comeback. Dilemmas, selections. Steve, we need to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm in agreement with you that Khanage doesn't play. I read somewhere that he'd said if he stretched his legs one more time, he felt it was going to go. That type of thing doesn't heal in 3 days, 4 days. It doesn't happen. So let's be realistic about it. Manchester City, you need a decent right back because Phil Foden's in great form. Big job for Bradley to go up against Foden. There were times, certainly when he first came on in midweek, they broke down that side and he was nowhere to be seen, and they nearly got in a couple of times down there, so big responsibility for him. I just see Gomez playing alongside Van Dijk. I really do. Part of Kwanzaa's development is to know when to play him and who to play him against.
Yeah.
And there's so much to look at him and you think, wow, he reminds you of Virgil van Dijk, the way he conducts himself on the pitch, even to the way he physically carries himself. There's clearly that ability, and being around him has rubbed off and he's changed his game, and fair play to him, he's getting his minutes. it's a massive, massive game, and I think the only risk that we take potentially in the back four is that Conor Bradley plays at right back, which is interesting because he wants to get forward, he wants to support, and we have the age-old problem that you can still get in a little bit down our right-hand side or the opponent's left. So does he get reined in a little bit and play more as an orthodox fullback, and then we allow the midfield with Szoboszlai and McAllister to go and break lines and create opportunities for us? And do we play slightly deeper and use the pace of the lads to run in behind? Because let's be honest with you, Kyle Walker aside, that's not a quick back four at City. So let them come out and try and play football and go down the channels with them, you know. So yeah, it's really interesting. You're right about the big players need to turn up. This is absolutely huge. You can't quantify how big this game is. You come out of that at the end of the weekend and you're 4 points clear of City. It's the message those players go back into the dressing room with. They go back in there. It's how they feel. At this moment in time, do they believe it? Are they allowing themselves to believe it? I'm not sure. If you beat Manchester City, they'll all believe it. And that will be the difference with getting them to go that extra 10% at the end of the season to get across games. Everton away, Manchester United away are going to be difficult games for different reasons. You beat Manchester City at home and put 4 points between you and them. That challenge isn't so big because you've got the impetus to do it. So you're right. Big names have to turn up, and I can only see Conor Bradley being the one player that if you could pick someone else ahead of him, a more experienced player, be it a Gomez or even a Trent, then he would play. But it will be down to availability, and I think he'll play because he doesn't seem to be overawed by things, and I think Gomez and Van Dijk is potentially a stronger back two centre backs than it is Quansah and Van Dijk, as Quansah's still learning.
Sorry.
No, that's it.
Yeah, sorry. We've got Man City fans in the chat as well who are nervous. You know, let's not. We're not the only nervous ones. They are nervous, and you're all welcome. You're absolutely all welcome because none of you have been disrespectful and rude in the chat. So you're all very welcome. We love to have opposition fans in the chat as well. Try to get some insight into what we're going to do. Cav, I tend to agree with Steve. I don't see it going any other way in terms of Gomez slotting in there. Gomez and Virgil van Dijk, for me, were probably one of the best pairings in Liverpool history. I'd go as far as saying when they're both at their best and in form, they're just amazing. Any concerns for you that Gomez hasn't played centre back for a little while? He's been doing jobs at either fullback. Is there a concern? And if there's a concern, is it enough to throw in Quansah in there?
Yeah. I'm of a different opinion to Steve. I've got to be honest. I think I've said on Red Fellas or what have you before, but if we win anything this season, obviously we won something, but whatever we win this season, Joe Gomez has most certainly played his part. I'd go as far to say you win nothing this season without Joe Gomez this season. He's been that crucial. It filling in the fullback positions and what have you. He's been brilliant. And I think he's improved, actually, especially when he had that period at left back. I remember when the first few games we were talking about it was like, oh, it looks too narrow. He's constantly coming inside on his right foot and whatever. But I think he improved in that respect. Not amazing, but improved to the extent where we played him as a 6 and actually thought he was a midfielder for a short period of time. But hey, I'm not so confident with him at centre back now. I've got to be honest with you. I just think the movement of Man City, the fluidity, the pockets that they find in and around you, they'll clearly target that side with him. And if Bradley plays right back, which I expect to happen, I'm just a little bit nervous. And that's not to say that Quansah's better in that respect, but he is a centre back. And when he's been called upon, he's performed. And I just think, what has he done to not deserve the shot? To be honest with you, we've got to be brave. And I know that's a young side, but Quansah and Bradley have played 10 years of football together, you know, as well. So they know each other's game, and they'll be coming up against Jeremy Doku, who is a quick player, but, you know, his output's not exceptional. And, you know, he'll always look to put the ball back across to Haaland and what have you. So I would go with him. And also part of the reason is because I do want to see Joe Gomez on the left ahead of Robertson. I think Gomez has been solid as a left back. I think he'll be head-to-head with Phil Foden, who's probably the most informed player in the league at the minute. and I back Joe Gomez to defend well against him. I also think that at times Robertson's pressing's a little bit off, and I'm not as much as I like the enthusiasm and I like the energy. I just think if he does that one-man press again and gets caught up the pitch, we get eaten alive by Man City. So I'm being a little bit risk adverse by playing Joe Gomez at left back, but then I'm also being brave by playing Konsa at centre back. Look, he can go. Khanage is an absolute massive miss. He's in brilliant form. He's improved as the season's gone on. And of course, we'd hoped and prayed and given anything for him to play this game. So I think whatever you come up with is ultimately a lesser team than you'd want. But that's what I would personally go with. And I'll got to be honest, even if Trent was available, there'd still be a question in my head whether I play him ahead of Bradley.
I think the other. Did you remember we had a conversation? Or we were trying to, and like people were saying, "Are you mad? Have we forgotten what Trent is?" But this guy has been so good. Do you remember about 3 Sundays ago we had a shout on Red Fellas, and I said, for me, it's the most impact a youngster has had over a prolonged, in terms of a prolonged period. So obviously everyone came back with Owens. Was it 4 goals, Steve? Made in, or was it foul? Someone scored 4 goals or something, wasn't it? Owen or Fowler, one of the lads.
Fowler,
right?
Against Fulham, 5 goals in his second game.
So everyone's talking about that, but what I meant was a defender is very much more difficult to make an impact like that, because a striker, if you score goals, that's impact everyone's eyes. But the impact that he's made over a prolonged period, which is like 5-6 games, for me has been sensational. But Cav, I hear what you're saying. Honestly, I do, and I'm with you.
Can I make a point on that?
Yes, Steve.
It's really interesting because I've been thinking about this. When Gomez plays at left back, he finds himself the inverted player. That's what we do with him. He's the guy that becomes inverted because it's natural to come in on his right side. And he's actually a little bit better of a passer than a lot of people give him credit for.
I agree.
That's no coincidence that when he's inverted, Alexis McAllister can get into more advanced positions. I've recently looked at Alexis McAllister's heat map, and it's anything but a 6. It's a very, very different role. Even when Endo's not in the team, it's a very, very different role. So for me, the possibility of, and I'm open to Quanta playing there but I don't think he will. But I think if Quanta plays and you play Gomez at left back, and I think some of the criticism of Andy Robertson's a bit harsh. He said 3 months out with a busted shoulder, so it takes a little time to get back in.
But this is the.
I agree.
Sorry.
I agree.
Sorry, finish, yeah.
I think the Gomez inverted thing releases McAllister a little bit to go and break lines and be further up the pitch. And that's this thing about being brave that I speak about. If we sit back and try and hold out City and try and catch him on breaks and quick transition, that will hurt us because that plays into their hands. Teams have got to stop playing to the Manchester City blueprint. And I said before, Rashford turned up for 10 minutes against City and they could have been 2 down because of his running. But we've got somebody that runs in equal measure in terms of Núñez, who will ask questions, but shows no sign of switching off in the middle of a game and becoming that player that frustrates the fan base. So in that regard, I can make a case for Quanta coming in. It's huge. It's a massive. Never been in a game like this before in his life. So how does he deal with that? But playing alongside Virgil, you'll get all the information and all the calmness you could ever want. I think Gomez at left back as McAllister's benefited hugely by having the freedom because we've almost gone with a double pivot when he sat in there. So it's interesting how that works. I just think we might over respect them in that regard, and if we do, I don't see Quanta playing at centre back.
I'll just Grizz the chat have rightfully. I think rightfully, I've not checked it, but enough people have said it. Fair play to the chat. Looks like Doku's out of the game as well. Not quite sure what's happened there. So that's different. That'll be a different lineup to what they played against United, where Foden played on the right. Okay, he changed as the game went on and Doku come off. But against United, they had Foden, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, and Doku across sort of the midfield behind Haaland as the advanced playmakers, if you like. So I would suspect that maybe a midfielder in Kovacic, or maybe not Matheus Nunes, but maybe comes into midfield and they push Bernardo Silva out there, or perhaps they bring in Julian Alvarez or something. So it'll be slightly different. And the only reason I consider it is just for the matchups. on them wide positions.
I don't know how City are gonna. Maybe someone in the chat, Man City fans, as you're here, let us know what you think. Give us some insight into how Man City will set up. I think the back four picks for themselves. Shall we finish our one first? Let's finish our one. So we all disagree on the back four, which is brilliant. Love it when that happens. We all disagree. Actually, no. The only reason I'm not going with your suggestion, Cav, is because I'm sorry for pointing, but it's the Kwanzaa and Bradley on the right, two youngsters, inexperienced, especially in a game of this magnitude, and the opposition is Man City, who, in my opinion, are probably the best at pinpointing a team's weakness and putting overloads in there. Do you remember when Milner played there last season and they terrorized the poor fella with overload over overload? Not this last season, the season before, I think. I can't remember.
When he should have been sent off.
Do you remember that one, Steve?
Yeah,
that was the one.
He should have been sent off, shouldn't he?
Let's be honest. But so that's the only reason. Otherwise, I would like to see Gomez in this game because of the fact Foden has been drifting out there as well, and Gomez just gives us more stability. It becomes a back three almost, as we've seen over the weeks. Keeps the height in the team with Gomez, Virgil, and Kwanzaa. If Konate is to be out, it doesn't reduce the height overall, and it gives a bit more license for Bradley to be the overlapping fullback. But as Kwanzaa and Bradley are going to be young, I think I'd go brave and just entrust Gomez to continue the general form he's showing. And like Steve says, it's not criticism of Robertson. I absolutely agree with Steve. He's just come back from an injury. It takes time. He's only played 2 games since he's been back, I believe. And you need a warrior and a leader and someone who's played in these kind of games, and especially Man City games, and done well. And Robertson is one of those. So, and I agree with your point about his pressing, and the timing of his pressing seems to be off at the moment. He's not following the team's triggers. He's following his own triggers almost, you know what I mean? Chasing his own tail at sometimes. So he'll have to have a few words. Klopp will have to have a few words with that. What are we doing in midfield, lads? Does it pick itself? I think it does. I don't think we need to waste much time on the midfield. Cav, what are you doing in midfield? Or does it? Okay, your reaction suggests.
No. There's two absolute musts. Endo and McAllister.
Right.
Absolute musts.
Steve, I think you're there as well.
Yeah, I am.
Two, absolute 2 musts, right?
Yeah. Okay. So then it's the third position, and I think McAllister. When he first came in, I thought it was the left-sided 8. I thought that's where he would play. Ends up playing the 6 for whatever reason. We won't get into that. But then since he's gone into the right-sided 8 position, he's flourished. He's done brilliantly, and reluctant to move him from there. So it's a question of, do we move him over to the left-sided 8 and stick Elliott in right centre mid or Szoboszlai, or do we stick one of them who we haven't really seen as a left-sided 8 on the other side of the pitch? I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. If it was me, I would go with Endo in the 6, McAllister left-sided 8, and Szoboszlai right-sided 8. And I know Szoboszlai is still coming back from injury, and he probably won't see out the game, but I actually think Elliott's still a player that does well when he comes on as a substitute, as opposed from his starts anyway. So, and he's played a lot of football recently, so it would make sense to just maybe give us some less minutes in this game.
I've got carried away and totally forgot that we can use the lineup builder. Steve, while I bring that up, talk to me. Midfield setup shape.
I think Cav's right. I think that's where it has to be, and Elliott can consider himself unlucky.
Very.
It will be about what happens when we're going back towards our goal. That there isn't a midfielder in the Premier League that does what Szoboszlai does in terms of interceptions and those types of things that you're going to need. And you're going to need a little bit more support down that right-hand side. Now, Harvey Elliott's a great footballer. I love Harvey Elliott. His career will be about picking the right games to play him in. Certainly was at this stage of his career anyway. And I just think Szoboszlai gives you a little bit more physicality, and Rodri's a big fella. You know, Haaland's a big fella. Diaz is a big fella. Khanage a big fella if he plays. So from a set piece point of view as well, you probably get a little bit more. And if we're going to play in a way where transition is key, and we talk about runners, third man running and stuff like that, Szoboszlai is considerably quicker than Elliott. And I sound like I'm disrespecting Elliott here, and I don't mean to do that. I've always wondered what games he will play in, and he played quite a lot of the game in midweek, more so than some of his other midfield compatriots, which makes me think that they do have an eye on him being the guy that comes on potentially after 65, 70 minutes, depending on where the game's at. And if we need that shot in the arm that he gives us in terms of reminding the players what the game plan is, because he's really good at coming off the bench. He takes instructions so well, and he comes onto the pitch and he kind of reinvigorates everybody because he goes back to the core of what we're doing, and he demonstrates that. I just don't see him. I don't see him starting the game. I think Szoboszlai gives you so much defensively in terms of recovery runs, and Jurgen has said he would have told you 2 or 3 weeks ago he could play, but they've had to be careful with his rehabilitation. So that suggests to me that they're comfortable in the physical output that he's got to give us, and they're not worried about aggravating the injury. So we didn't spend £70 million on one of the sort of up-and-coming young midfielders in Wales football to sit him on the bench. I just don't think that happens. Certainly not the weekend anyway. So I think Harvey can count himself unlucky. He's been great when we've asked him to play, but he's not in front of Szoboszlai in the pecking order for me, and I think that will transmit itself into the team.
Well, I have to agree. I'm going with you guys. I agree with all the points that you've made. I echo. I think the height is very important. You're right, Steve. And the power running. He looked much better, guys. Szoboszlai in that first game. What was it? When he came on? Nottingham Forest away. He looked very rusty. But yesterday I thought he looked much better, which was encouraging. Yeah, and the other ones pick themselves. Harvey Elliott, the amount of football that he's played. My guy. What a hero, an absolute hero for me. I mean, his work has been all of them, and we will give their flowers as the season goes on. But we must finish the front three. I guess it's 3 out of 4 available. Jota's not available. Thank the Lord that Salah is available back. Thank the Lord Nunes is fit and firing. I guess I don't know. Let's put it. Let's see. Nunes is a nailed-on starter, right? Is Diaz nailed on for you, Kath?
I'm just trying to look. Can you remember what minute he came off in the last game? Because this is a guy that's played a lot of football as well. He didn't show any signs of fatigue or, like it was getting to him in the last game at all, really. But, just conscious that he has played a lot of football. That being said, I'd still play him. It's the biggest game. It's the biggest game we've got the season. At this point, who knows what will come on ahead? But I'd play him. And you know what? Fair play to him. His form's improved of late. I've discussed Diaz a few times this season. Evans rightly put me in my place at times, and I've sort of asked for a bit more from him.
And that's perfectly fine. We demand from our players.
Yeah, but he has, and I think Steve, you made the good point with him earlier. He's working hard, he's linking up, he's tracking back, which is going to be obviously vital for this game as well. His ability to give him the ball and help play out from the back. There's going to be plenty of transitions in this game, so his mobilization up and down the pitch and linking up with the forward men in all aspects in our build up and also in our transition. So fair play to him for his improved form. We've needed him with the absentees in Salah and Jota especially, and he stepped up. So conscious of the amount of football he's playing, but I would still start him on that left side.
Talking of left-sided wingers or strong forwards, brilliant segue again. We should call this the segue show. Really appreciate the generous donation. He says, love you guys. Thank you very much, Red Hard Dark Show. We love you as well. Love you guys. Out of context question. It's not, because we're literally talking about it right now. Who was to play on the left side? We all know Trent isn't great at defending, but with his range of shooting and passing, can he play left wing? I think he would score more than Diaz or Gakpo, which was Cav's demands for Gakpo and Diaz to show more. Steve, maybe not left wing, but is there another position? Obviously, the old added question, especially if a new coach comes in, it's something to look forward to, I think. When I say look forward to, something to look forward to discussing, because especially with the emergence of Bradley.
Yeah, it's interesting. If it's Alonso, then fullbacks are massive. Grimaldo is the biggest threat for Bayern Leverkusen in terms of goals at the moment. Frimpong and both of them have got 10 goals and 10 assists, I think it is, which is insane. And he inverts them sometimes. So the one you think's playing on the right plays on the left and what have you. So that'd be interesting. I can see the point. Difficult one with Trent. He's not as bad as defending as people say he is. I can't subscribe to that. He was never put in the team to challenge Aaron Wan-Bissaka for slide tackles. He was put in the team to challenge Kevin De Bruyne for assists and creativity. And when it goes wrong down that right-hand side, he's not the guy that gets dug out in the changing room. It's the people that should cover for him. So I don't always subscribe to the narrative that he can't defend. His interceptions are sensational. What he isn't great at is when the likes of Martinelli's standing up one-on-one, they will go past him. That happens. A winger should be able to beat a full-back because they can't tackle anymore. They have to stand up and show him spaces and move them into areas where they can't hurt you. So I think in terms of Trent, difficult, depends on who comes in, who does what, but remember when those two guys were playing far up the pitch, and Robertson and Trent, and they were getting assist after assist after assist in an Alonso format. He's got two ready-made guys to come in and do that, and I think they're of a better standard than he's currently managing in that regard. So an interesting one.
Yeah, one to keep an eye on, I guess, yeah.
Don't see Trent playing left midfield. Luis Diaz at the moment has kind of nailed that. That's his place at the moment, and I don't see a world where he doesn't play, because he'll keep Kyle Walker honest, because his first thing to do is to face you up and try and beat you, and he's not had a great deal of success against Kyle Walker. So if you're his manager, you're challenging that. You're asking him to go and make a difference and do something differently, and he's coming inside and getting on the end of things. And what you want in the front three against these guys is absolute movement, elite movement, and in those three you've got elite movement. And if it breaks down and we nick a corner and we win it back early like we try and do, and you release balls into spaces, those three guys are quicker than everybody in Manchester City's defence, with the exception of Kyle Walker, and I think Núñez might be quicker than Walker anyway. So we've got to look at that. We've got to look at transition. Cav makes the point, we've got to look at breaking quickly. And another reason for when Elliott plays right wing, where we struggle, because you just can't move those little legs fast enough. I need to get there. So that front three picks itself. I think the team picks itself. Absolutely. I think we're at the stage now where we're so threadbare in terms of people we'd like to play, and with Ibu missing out, I think that it's pretty black and white what this team needs to be.
Steve, the only question was, and this is what's going to give sleepless nights to Liverpool fans up and down the world, is the fitness. Do you risk Salah starting? How are we playing this? Because he literally only had, 20 minutes, was it, guys, yesterday? Half an hour, something like that?
Yeah.
And a game of this magnitude and tension, there is the option of Gakpo to start, and then maybe play Diaz and Núñez on the flanks. And then just because the last thing we want is Salah to have another breakdown at the most critical part of the season. This is where Jurgen Klopp and the medical staff will absolutely earn their money.
Yeah.
Kev, are you throwing him in there, Kev, from the start?
Well, look, we don't know his actual fitness and what the advice would be from the medical team or what have you. But what I would say is, if he could play as a substitute for 20 minutes in the last game, he's had a few days recovery and what have you. If his recovery is fine, he doesn't feel anything, he goes into this game with no problems, then I would just start him. Just throw him in. He's that good. I don't care how many days training he's had or whatever it is. And I don't say the same for anybody else in our team other than Mo Salah. Klopp likes to do this thing where you've had a day or two training with the team and then you're able to go back into the first team squad. Not Mo Salah. He's that good. His ability is that great. He's such a creator for this team. I would just chuck him back in. My only reservation I have slightly is that him and Szoboszlai still need to work on their connection a little bit on that right side. And obviously playing with Bradley now is a new element to that. I felt at times when Trent, Szoboszlai and Salah were playing, as great as they are as individuals, they still need to work on that connectivity between them. But I think he plays. Let's not forget the link up him and Nunes have, finding each other and assisting each other. And
we missed that. I mean,
yeah.
no, we don't miss that. We're like, I'm not saying we missed that we didn't survive without it. We done magnificent without it. But in terms of we missed that, that was a thing of beauty. The link ups.
And to be honest with you, not to by any means heap, too much criticism on the guy, but Cody Gakpo's not in great form, not playing particularly well. Improved slightly in the last game, but not really taking his chances or what have you. Just not been good enough to warrant starting in this game for me. So I would risk Salah. I'm not sure if it's a risk, but I'd put him in from the start and see how he goes. Like you say, Grizz, you certainly don't want to lose him again, but we've shown that we can score goals without him actually. So this is a key game, and if he can start him.
Steve, are you starting him?
Yeah. Good luck telling him he's not playing, by the way. He's a difficult man when he doesn't get to play games he thinks he should play in or be substituted with 10 minutes to go and things like that. It's probably better to play him, and if he's going to break down, let him break down, and we've got availability to swap him out for somebody like Gakpo rather than start Gakpo, bring him off after an hour, stick Salah on, and then suddenly Salah can't finish the game. Where are you then? What do you do? And I'm kind of not really necessarily in agreement with the comment on Gakpo. I think his versatility has been his problem. He's not really been able to nail down one place because he can do multiple jobs. Where I see the benefit of a Gakpo for the game is that 70 minutes into the game, if we're in the ascendancy, launching balls into the corner and running after them might not be what you want to do. Playing the ball up to somebody who can hold it, who's got that physical element about them, and he's very good at that. Is where you don't keep having the ball being recycled and coming back at you. So for me, if you get control of the game, you get yourself into a winning position. Yeah, we're right to expect more from Gakpo because he's got the ability to do that. But I think he's been so versatile. He can't really nail down a position because he can do so much. That he is a guy that you bring off the bench to tidy it up a little bit and make sure you don't give the ball away so much because he's big, he's physical, players bounce off him. Had really good seats when he came on against Newcastle, and he made the world of difference in terms of holding on to that ball and bringing people in and around him. And what you can't keep doing with Manchester City is keep giving them the ball back, and that's tough. That becomes difficult to do. So I'm totally in agreement that Salah starts the game, and if he breaks down, he breaks down. I don't see a world where you go into the biggest game of the season, the biggest game in recent years, without your talisman. I don't see a world where you tell him he's not playing either. God help you if you have that conversation with him, because he's a very sort of very tough man in that regard and doesn't accept things like that. And Klopp said he would have told you he was fit 2 weeks before we brought him back. Same as Szoboszlai, they're itching to go. And it wasn't fatigue. I think that's quite a clever play on words. It was, we aggravated the injury he did in the AFCON for me. But if he's good to come on, to travel abroad and then play for 20 minutes, can't leave him out. It just gives you so much, can't leave him out. And even if he's not playing brilliantly, he's still a guy that will go and get you assists. So I think, yeah, that's it. Aura, 100%, great word, great choice of word there. Can't not play him. Can't leave him out. I just don't see how we can do that.
I'm actually with Red Sai. I think Klopp's been holding Salah back for this game, and this game onwards, period onwards. I think he's looked at the fixtures and said, with all due respect, and obviously it didn't turn out that way exactly, but we can win at Forest. the Europa League games and the previous games to that. You know, this is it now. This is the running. Very difficult. Don't let anyone tell you that our running is the easiest. It's absolutely not. There are some tricky, difficult fixtures and grounds that we have struggled in the past. Let's face reality, guys. I know recently we have done a number on United. Obviously the 5-0 a couple of seasons ago, whatever, but there has been a few draws in there where we've absolutely been by far the better team. We have got draws in us at Goodison Park, even though they've been fighting relegation most of the times we play them. We have sometimes struggled at West Ham. We lost there, remember when Alisson had a stinker of a game. We have not beaten Fulham away in a number of games. I don't want to put dampeners on it. I'm not shitting you lot up or putting a negative spin on things, but don't let anyone tell you, Liverpool have got the easiest running. I've just named you 4 grounds and 4 away games that we've got left out of the last 11. Sunday is huge. Sunday we have a chance to, Cav said 4 points clear of them if we win. Yes, 4 points clear. And then we can sigh of relief, a bit of a breather before we watch Man United and Arsenal play each other, and then we can Man City and Arsenal, and then we can discuss what we want. But Sunday we must do our job. Someone in the chat, Magpie96 says, if we win by 2 goals, we're 8 ahead of City, so effectively a 4-point now. My brother, let's just win. Never mind margin of victory. Let's just get the 3 points on board. Old Trafford, Villa away too, guys. Villa away too.
Yeah.
Second last game of the season. Don't let anybody tell you that Liverpool's running is easy and it's all plain sailing after Man City. But saying all of that, the mental boost and the spirits, this uplifting in spirits, if we beat Man City on Sunday, guys, we will try to describe it. We will try to describe it in subsequent shows, no doubt. I thank you all much. Does that make sense?
No.
Doesn't matter.
It's late. It's late, Grizz.
It's late, and I'm so tense. I'm so nervous. Sunday is huge. Like my hand's not shaking, all right? So I can't tell you. I can't tell you how nervous I am. But listening to you guys and listening to the chat, I feel much better. And this is what the community does. This is why we get together on a random Friday night. So many busy people, but yet we've had constantly over 300 in here. I thank you all for the support. I thank you all for the love. Thank you all for the likes, helping out with the algorithms. And I thank you all for being Liverpool fans, the majority of you, because we will need our support. Liverpool need our support. And for whoever's going on Anfield Sunday, make it hell for them. Absolutely make it hell. This is massive, guys. This is absolutely massive. This has been Pre-Match Khanage. Stroke, Michael Edwards, Returns, Khanage, everything Khanage. Cav, Steve, of course, thank you very much. Thanks to Moby who joined us earlier. Hope to see you guys Sunday. Hope to see you guys Sunday. Hope to see everyone Sunday. Hope to see everyone smiling. Hope to see everyone happy. We go again. Take care, people. Over and out.